Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck idea brought to you by Double Sleeved. Today we're covering the standalone mono black leader coming out in OP03. It is Rob Lucci, one that a lot of people were speaking about early, but with the recent kind of introduction of red and yellow into the meta and on people's radars, I've kind of seen this one talked about a little bit less, but people enjoy playing black, so there's no doubt that we'll be seeing this at local level and tournament level as well. But let's jump into the deck and see what we're looking out for. We've got a standard 5 life, 5k leader. Your turn effect, once per turn, you may discard 2 cards from your hand. When an opponent's character is KO'd, you get to set this leader as active. We do have a fair bit of KO effects within the deck, so it's good to have the ability to restand if we need. But if we're just attacking into something and have the ability to KO it, then we do have just another way to restand our leader and get an additional attack, which might just be all we need to push for game. But jumping into some of the black cards that we have, we've got Tsuru. It's a 1 cost, 0 power, 2k counter. On play, give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 to their cost for the turn. Pretty standard black things just to be able to minus cost and bring it down. We get a lot of effects obviously that can interact with low cost characters and things like that, but at worst it's a 2k counter. Spandom, it's a 1 cost 2k 1k counter searcher. On play, if your leader has CP in its type, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 CP type card other than Spandom, add it to your hand, and then trash the remaining cards. So we're going to be sending some of our cards to the trash rather than bottom of the deck like we've seen with other searches. And that's going to be the same with Brenu. It's a 2 cost 3k 1k counter. On play, look at the 3 cards top of the deck, reveal up to 1 navy type card other than Brenu and add it to your hand, and then trash the remaining cards. So depending on which we need or what we have, or even whether we go first or second, might determine which one of these cards that we play. But we've got a couple of combinations of the CP9 and the navy cards, so hopefully we just don't whiff and we find the ones that we need. Moving into the next character card, we've got Fukuro. It's a 3 cost 3k blocker, 1k counter, with a really powerful effect of this card cannot be KO'd by effects. It's really good to tag that onto a blocker as well. Pretty much means that we're going to be able to block whenever, or at least utilize this card whenever we want, rather than having our opponent remove it and we don't get the full value for the card. So it can definitely come up later on in the game. And a really powerful effect that we've seen in the past on some of these black cards as well. Next we've got Khalifa, a 4 cost 4000 power 2k counter. On play, draw 2 cards, then trash 2 cards from your hand, and then give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 to their cost for the turn. Again, we're going to be trashing those cards and just doing pretty standard things that match the black identity color of being able to -2 to a cost as well, but just allows us to fix our hand a little bit more. At worst, again, it's a 2k counter. Borsellino and SR that we saw in OP02 and what's been a black staple in pretty much all black decks. It's a 4 cost 5k. We've got 1k counter. On our opponent's turn, this character gains 1000 power and cannot be KO'd by effects, similar to Fukuro. So really powerful. We're going to be able to utilize that block when we want on our terms, rather than have our opponent remove this. And just getting that +1000 is going to be really good and force our opponent to put Don under their leader just to attack. Kumadori is a 4 cost 6k skillless card. It's got the 1k counter. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then we've got Hina, a 5 cost 6k. We've got the 1k counter again, and this is a blocker. And then on block, we get to choose up to one of our opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less, and the chosen character cannot attack during this turn. So it stops 2 attacks basically from hitting our life, being able to block and prevent another character from attacking. If our opponent doesn't sequence properly, this card can be really punishing. Or if they've got a lot of load to the ground attackers, again, it can be really punishing just to prevent that extra attack. Kaku, a 5 cost 6k, counter 1k. On play, you may return 2 cards with CP in its type from your trash to the bottom of the deck in any order, and then we KO up to one of our opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less. We've got a lot of those cards that are going to be trashing after we search and after we play them, so we're going to hopefully get those CP9s CP cards into the discard area so that we can bottom deck them with this card and get our KO effect. Blue Note is a 5-cost 6k, 1k counter. Don times 1, this character gains blocker. So if we need it to, then we can have this card be a blocker. And on KO, we get to play up to 1 character card with a cost of 4 or less with CP in its type from your trash and rest it. So a couple of different options, but I think the best one that we're going to have is definitely the Kumadori to get that skillless 6k out onto the field. Our opponent removes the 6k and 1 just takes its place, which is really powerful. Sakazuki is going to be our main kind of board removal via effects rather than attacking into them. It's a 6-drop 7k character card. On play, trash 1 card from your hand, KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Again, with the ability to reduce costs with some of our other cards, we can start hitting 7k cards and things like that as well. Sorry, 7-cost cards. Then we've got Isho. It's an 8-cost 9k character card. Don times 1 on your turn. All of your opponent's characters get -3 to their cost. So again, really powerful if this card's able to stick around in combination with the Sakazuki. And then on play, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, trash 2 cards from your opponent's hand. It's not very difficult to have 6 or more cards in your hand. It is difficult to kind of play the game with less than 6 when your opponent has some really powerful effects and cards, and we rely on our hand size to counter out of attacks. So it's really punishing to take them from 6 cards in hand down to 4 at random, especially establishing a 9,000 power character card onto the field. I hate playing against this card, but I'm going to love playing it. So got to take the good with the bad, take the bad with the good, I should say. And then we've got Impact Wave. It's a 2-cost counter card. Your leader or up to 1 of your character cards gain plus 4,000 power during this battle, and then KO up to 1 of our opponent's active characters with a cost of 3 or less. Again, really powerful if our opponent doesn't sequence correctly or if they've got low-cost blockers on the field. And then trigger KO up to 1 of our opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So really powerful again if we hit this out of life. And then we've got Air Door. This is a 4-cost event card, which might seem pretty expensive, but we've got a pretty powerful effect here. It's an activate main. If your leader has CP in its type, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, play up to 1 character with a cost of 5 or less with CP in its type, and then put the rest in the trash. So we can play out our Blue Note, our Cuckoo, things like our Kumadori as well. So really powerful. It's just being able to get those cards into the trash as well, which we can then utilize for the effect. But if we don't have the cards that we need in hand, then we can just search the top 5 to try and find them. Trigger, play up to 1 black character card with a cost of 3 or less from your trash. So we do have things like our blocker, which is probably going to be the most useful one to get out onto the field, or we can just use our searches again to be able to look for more cards. But that's the deck. Let me know what you think in the comments if you have some cards that you think might suit the deck, or if you want to change some of the ratios and things like that. If you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We do appreciate it here. And check out some of our other deck ideas for all the other leaders coming out in OP03. As always, if you do enjoy the video, yeah, hopefully we'll see you in the next deck idea.